I often prescribe homeopathic medicines in clinical practice. There's a few different ways to employ homeopathic medicines, and some of them are very straightforward, and some of them are a little more subtle. So I'm just going to go through a couple of different ways that they get prescribed in my sort of day-to-day practice. So one of the ways we get prescribed, or I prescribe homeopathic medicines, is in a sort of acute or pathology-based or sort of organ tropism based. If I think there's a problem with the stomach, I'll give you Robinia pseudoacacia. It's because it has an affinity for that organ system, perhaps the nerves that innervate that organ or the blood supply of that organ. We're not entirely sure, but it's pretty straightforward. If you have a stomach issue, I'm going to give you Robinia. So that's pretty simple, and what are we going to see from giving you something for your stomach? Well, hopefully there's going to be improvement in your stomach issues, whatever they may be. It could be, in the most common case, it would be something like heartburn. And so we're going to give Robinia for heartburn. It's very easy to evaluate. Your heartburn is probably going to improve. And that's how we can tell, just like a regular sort of conventional medicine, that medicine worked for that particular issue. So that's quite straightforward. Now, another way homeopathics can be prescribed is in a more sort of constitutional or individualized way. This is more taking into account your entire sort of medical history, symptoms, disposition, or perhaps it's been prescribed, or homeopathic is prescribed based on a never well since sort of idea. So, never well since grief, or there's an overriding emotion that seems to be holding you in that state. And until we sort of address that state, it's impossible or very difficult to move forward. I had a case just this past week of an immense feeling of guilt. And so I prescribed that patient a remedy called Staphysagria. So this is a different kind of way of prescribing, a little less straightforward, if we're totally honest. It's not as simple and not as easy to evaluate. It's not as easy to evaluate when things go the way we're looking for them to go. So obviously, if things don't go well or nothing changes, we can say it didn't have any benefit. But what you'll often see is people have some benefit, but if they don't look for the benefits, they may not realize it, because that's how symptoms are, right? When they're gone, we often forget about them very easily. I can think of dozens and dozens of times where people have come for a follow-up, said, oh, homeopathic didn't do anything. But when you start evaluating their symptoms, they're all much better. So in this second, more, I guess, esoteric constitutional way of prescribing homeopathic medicines, these are the things that you obviously want to be looking for to evaluate, hey, did this have any effect? So did the symptoms of your condition or anything change, lessen in any way? Did you have a return of old symptoms? Sometimes that's a good thing. Did you feel like you have more energy? Did any excretions or secretions change? Example, more bowel movements, or decreased mucus, or decreased urinary frequency, or you were constipated and now you're having normal bowel movements. Do you have a more positive outlook, sort of feeling more at ease? Do other people, like your family and coworkers, have they commented on any changes in you? Like, has any relationship dynamics changed? People that used to sort of anger you or make you irritable don't anymore, even though they're probably acting the same. So this shows that there's probably something more to change in terms of your perception. Maybe increased libido. Maybe, I've heard people, oh, now I'm having sex with my husband and we haven't, that wasn't a thing for a long time. That's a good move in the right direction, more libido. Do you feel more at ease? Like I said, less stress, just less tense. Things that irritated you, do they irritate you less? Like I said, sleeping longer or deeper, or waking fewer times in the night. Maybe your appetite or body temperature or thirst change. So very generalized sort of symptoms that show that the remedies had an effect on you as a whole, on very sort of base physiological symptoms. So it's not perfect, but this is one way of addressing, hey, did this homeopathic do anything for me? So another thing to sort of note from this is that I prefer that people do not take homeopathics over and over and over, day to day to day, unless they need them. So whether it's a constitutional remedy, or it's an acute sort of pathology-based remedy, or I've given you like Robinia for your stomach, I kind of want you to know and learn how the remedy works for you. And then as you learn how the remedy works for you, then you can address to yourself without, coming to me or some other practitioner. You can sort of get to understand what the remedy does for you and whether you need to redose it or not. Often what I like people to do is the minimum amount of redosing possible. So you can have this example. Say you take the remedy, your symptoms improve and things are much better, but then they go down again, then you can redose the remedy and go on like that. Um, if you take a remedy for the symptoms and everything gets better and you just hold there, you don't need to redose. You just hold there. And then when things start to go down, maybe you take it again. This is a kind of like over the counter sort of style, I call it. Sort of like you don't take Advil every day. Well, maybe sometimes people do, but you don't take Advil unless you need it. You don't take Tylenol unless you need it. So it's kind of, you take the remedy only when you need it. Now, this is easier for the pathology based or organ based issues. Like, if you're GERD or heartburn and comes back, then you dose another dose of Robinia. Now, when it's more of a constitutional issue where, like for in the case of the woman last week who I prescribed for her guilt, this deep, deep guilt that's just holding her from being able to move forward and keeping her in a really tense state. Uh, it may not be as easy for her to notice that, but hopefully it would be. So you have to be looking for a change in an outlook. You have to sort of be biased towards looking for that change, and then she will be able to find out for herself, hopefully, oh, this feeling that was holding me back, I feel lighter. I feel like it's not holding me back as much, and maybe she won't need to dose again for a long period of time, or maybe that feeling will hold for 3, 7, 14 days, whatever, and she can redose it. And sometimes the homeopathic will have a sort of cumulative effect. So it will not work maybe the first time, second time, maybe the third time or fourth time. There'll be like a deeper kind of change for the better that will hold. And other times, maybe we will have to dose at a different potency. So maybe an increased potency. So this is mainly a video to explain, the different ways in which you can apply homeopathics. These are only a couple, of course, but mainly I want you to be able to know how to dose your own remedy. And so you don't always need to take it every day. You don't always need to go and check in with your practitioner, although there's nothing wrong with that. I just like to teach people how to use the remedies so that they can do a lot of it on their own. And when you know these principles, you can do it on your own rather than, spending so much time, energy, and money booking in with your practitioner to find out, what do I do next? What do I do next? Yes, you should still book in once in a while to get some guidance with what's going on. But if you follow this principle, you'll be able to do a lot of it on your own. So just basically to summarize, you just redose when you think you need to redose, but it requires you to be very aware of yourself and the possible indications that the remedy is helping you move in the right direction.